Okay, let's take a look at what's making headlines in print and online today. We're joined by the Executive Director of think tank, the Australia Institute, Ben Oquist. G'day to you, Ben. How are you?
Good morning, Lisa. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Malcolm Turnbull is a bit cross, though. I was listening to the interviews he did yesterday after the announcement that he had been dumped from this job that he had held just for a week. That's where I want to start today. It was kind of a not surprising result after a week of daily headlines about it all.
Yeah, it was front page of the Sydney Morning Herald today and front page again of the Telegraph as the fallout continues, and they've both got a bit of the backstory of how Matt Keane, the New South Wales Environment Minister, spent the weekend on the phone to colleagues that ultimately led to the former Prime Minister being effectively axed from the New South Wales Net Zero and Clean Energy Board for his comments where he said that there should be a moratorium on new coal mine developments in the Hunter region in particular, backing in an Australia Institute report calling of the same. But it is interesting that there was such a swift reaction to those comments. And as the stories point out today, it was because the by-election is being held in the Upper Hunter. But the story in the Sydney Morning Herald points out that the appointment to Cabinet, the appointment was by Cabinet, had the endorsement of Cabinet, and even had the endorsement of John Barilaro, the Deputy Premier and Head of the National Party, who's been one of the vocal critics of Malcolm Turnbull following his statements about a moratorium on new coal mine in the Hunter Valley. But a moratorium on new coal mines in the Hunter Valley. But as you point out, Malcolm Turnbull has hit back and said this was this kind of thuggery of the right-wing media that has led to his sacking. And after all, he was really trying to chart a moderate course, really, not an end to coal mining immediately, but a moderate course, which is just no new mines, which is something backed by a lot of locals up there in the Hunter Valley. The horse industry in particular has backed that. And Malcolm Turnbull tried to make the point that this would be good for existing coal mine workers who wouldn't have their jobs threatened by new mines. But in the end, the kind of climate coal culture wars have got Malcolm Turnbull as well.
Yeah.
So that's on the front page of a number of the papers. Christine Holgate's also on the front page of a number of papers.
Indeed. Christine Holgate, the former head of Australia Post, has made a 151-page submission to a Senate inquiry that's looking, amongst other things, at her departure or sacking over the incident where she gave bonus watches, luxury Cartier watches, to executive management as a bonus. She says that she was unlawfully sacked by the chair, that she didn't actually stand down, that she was humiliated, that she in this submission to the Senate inquiry, that she was treated like a criminal. She didn't even get to she was blocked from sending a farewell message to staff. All in all, treated very unfairly, according to her. But a big submission to a Senate inquiry that's going to have a hearing next week into these matters. So I think we're going to hear a lot more about it.
For sure. And I thought it was interesting also, Malcolm Turnbull said if she'd been called Christopher Holgate, she would not have been treated as she was, including by the current Prime Minister. So there's a lot of stuff going on there as well. Can I turn to the Treasurer? He's going to be on the program very shortly. This is interesting. Corporate tax. Let's not have this race to the bottom globally. That's the call from the US.
Interesting. The US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has said we've got to end the 30-year race to the bottom on cutting company taxes, and Frydenberg has endorsed her comments, in particular the US moving back into the fold of the G7 and the OECD that are attempting to tackle tax avoidance and profit shifting and tax minimisation. But interestingly that Frydenberg has backed her call so explicitly, because after all, it wasn't long ago that the federal government was, of course, trying to prosecute the case for a big cut in company taxes. It does show you how much the debate has shifted with the new Biden administration actually moving to increase company taxes, and so a big change in the global debate around taxes being led by Janet Yellen.
Yeah, very interesting, and we'll have the Treasurer on in half an hour. Thanks very much, Ben Oquist.
Thanks, Lisa.